think he's here again. Same guy, just standing there.
It was nearly midnight in Essaouira when the video came through. A shaky whisper, a window behind her, the bare bulb casting yellow light over the tile. Her voice was quiet but certain. "He's outside again," she says. "Same guy, just standing there?" In the grainy reflection of the glass, a shape flickers. A tall shadow moving left to right. Then the screen stutters, distorts, and cuts to black. No one has heard from her since. Her name is not in police databases. There are no local alerts, no Moroccan news bulletins. Only a series of desperate posts from friends and family, each pointing to the same final message. The last time anyone saw 23-year-old Taylor James was on that screen, in a WhatsApp video that lasted 12 seconds, in a city she had dreamed of visiting since high school. Now her name drifts through travel forums, Reddit threads, and private Discord groups like a warning. A story repeated in half-truths and speculation, each version darker than the last. Taylor had been traveling solo through Morocco for just under 3 weeks. Her Instagram showed her on rooftop cafes in Marrakesh, smiling beside camels near Tagazout, walking barefoot through blue alleys in Chefchaouen. She was experienced, confident, and fluent in French. But something changed when she reached Essaouira. Her posts slowed, her captions shortened. She told a friend over voice note that she felt watched. The message was dismissed as nerves, travel paranoia, until the video came. Her parents say they were waiting for a check-in that never came. Her last known hostel confirmed she had booked only 2 nights. After that, her name vanishes from reservation logs, passport control, airport cameras. Her backpack, the same one featured in dozens of her travel photos, was later found in a second-hand market 140 kilometers away, stripped of everything personal. Her phone was never recovered. No formal investigation was opened in Morocco. And in the US, the process of triggering international cooperation has proved maddeningly slow. This story isn't just about a missing tourist. It's about what happens when someone vanishes across borders, across jurisdictions, and across the edge of a lens. It's about how silence expands in the space left behind, between frames, between messages, between flights that never land. And it begins not with a search party or a missing poster, but with a voice whispering in the dark as someone moves outside the window. What happens next is a trail of contradiction and confusion. A timeline scattered by half-loaded messages and strange digital artifacts. A family pushing against diplomatic silence. A backpacker whose disappearance was nearly overlooked until the video went viral. This is the story of Taylor James, and it begins in the days before that final message, before the whisper, before the shadow crossed the window. Before we continue, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what's the strangest place you've ever explored? I would also be delighted if you subscribe to my channel. Taylor James was always the one with a plan. She kept color-coded notebooks from the time she was 9, tracked airline sales by season, and had a Google Drive folder labeled Escape Routes before she even graduated high school. Raised in Denton, Texas, Taylor had grown up in a quiet suburb north of Dallas, the only child of 2 public school teachers. Her dad taught American history. Her mom ran the elementary art room. Neither of them had passports. Taylor was the outlier, curious, ambitious, and meticulous. From a young age, she wanted out, not to run away, but to see more. She studied French in high school and took Arabic as a minor at the University of Texas. Her friends remember her setting alarms to watch global news updates before class. She followed backpacker YouTubers and travel safety forums religiously. Her Instagram wasn't performative, no filters, no luxury, just story highlights like markets and solo tips and women watch. She considered herself an ethical traveler, grounded, smart, She knew what corners not to cut. After graduating in 2022 with a degree in cultural anthropology, Taylor worked part-time for a nonprofit in Austin. It gave her the freedom to take long breaks between contract cycles, time she used to travel, mostly alone. Morocco was her third international trip in 2 years, after Guatemala and Croatia. She planned each route herself, researched local laws, watched consular travel briefings. Her mom described her as obsessive in the safest way possible. She took screenshots of license plates, uploaded itinerary PDFs to the cloud, and had scheduled location check-ins with 3 separate contacts. But Taylor wasn't paranoid. She just didn't trust the assumption that everything would go according to plan. Friends say she was kind, funny, quick to help, but also carried herself with the quiet alertness of someone who paid attention to exits and patterns. One friend from college remembered how Taylor once noticed a rideshare driver circling a block twice in Dubrovnik. She requested to exit early, logged the coordinates, and filed a report. She didn't scare easy, the friend said, but she didn't ignore red flags either. Her social media footprint reflects that same cautious openness. In her last few months online, she posted longer captions, reflections on travel ethics, a recommendation for a digital self-defense course, a photo essay on how tourists can unintentionally cause harm. Her tone wasn't preachy, just aware. She wasn't there for likes. She wanted connection, and she wanted to document what it meant to move through the world alone, especially as a young American woman. Taylor's parents say they were proud but always nervous. Every trip came with a set of emergency protocols. She shared her hostel bookings in advance, noted her SIM card numbers, and even had a just-in-case envelope in her room at home with passwords and bank contacts. She did everything right, her father said, everything a solo traveler is supposed to do. So if she vanished, how? That question is what keeps them awake now. The dissonance. The impossibility of someone like Taylor, someone so intentional, so prepared, simply going silent. It's not just her absence that haunts them. It's how completely the silence swallowed her. The last time they spoke to her was a video call on a Saturday morning, 2 days before the WhatsApp video. She'd been excited about the Atlantic coast. Her eyes were sunburned. Her voice was calm. Nothing seemed wrong. But later that night, she left a short audio message for her cousin. There's a guy who's been outside 2 nights in a row. Might be nothing, just weird. That was the first thread, the first tug in the fabric that would slowly unravel. But at the time, no one pulled too hard. No one thought she was in danger. Taylor had dealt with strange looks and street harassment before, especially while traveling. She knew how to handle herself, but this time was different. And by the time her family realized it, Taylor was already gone. Taylor had been planning her Morocco trip for nearly 8 months. She started by sketching routes in a physical notebook, then migrated everything into a travel spreadsheet, regions by climate, travel time, Wi-Fi strength, and proximity to hospitals or U.S. consulates. Her goal wasn't to rush through tourist highlights. It was to explore slower, to understand. She gave herself 27 days and planned to move from city to coast by train, bus, and shared taxis. She arrived in Casablanca on September 7, 2023. Her first nights were spent in a boutique hostel near the Old Medina. From there, she moved south to Marrakesh, where she stayed for 6 days, long enough to explore the souks, take a rooftop cooking class, and post a blog entry titled Noise, Color, Heartbeat. She traveled light, one 38-liter backpack, solar charger, filtered water bottle, 2 locked cases for tech and ID. She used a Moroccan SIM card and had 2-factor authentication active across all accounts. Her check-in schedule was staggered across time zones, parents on Wednesdays, best friend on Sundays, and a cousin with access to her encrypted travel logs. From Marrakesh, she traveled by bus to Tagazout, a small coastal town known for its beaches and surfer crowd. Her hostel there confirmed she stayed 4 nights. Social media shows her walking cliffs at sunset, sipping mint tea with other travelers. Her captions remained calm, even poetic. She posted a quote in one: "You can't carry light through someone else's map." It was one of the last times she sounded fully like herself. After Tagazout, Taylor took a CTM coach to Essaouira. She texted her dad at the rest stop outside Agadir. "I'll be offline for a bit, heading to the Windy City." Essaouira, known for its seawalls, blue boats, and gusty Atlantic air, had long been on her bucket list. She'd written about it in college, fascinated by the town's layered history: Phoenician roots, Portuguese fortresses, Gnawa music, French colonial traces. She booked a small hostel just inside Bab Marrakesh, one of the Medina's arched gates. Her room was on the second floor, with a narrow window overlooking a quiet street. She arrived in Essaouira on September 21st. That's the last confirmed date verified through official records. She checked in with her U.S. bank using local Wi-Fi, made a small grocery purchase using her Wise card, and uploaded 3 photos to her private travel blog, all tagged with GPS coordinates near the port. But there were no Instagram posts after that, no new WhatsApp statuses, no outgoing texts. What exists instead is a subtle shift in tone. Taylor's notes, later recovered through synced Google Docs, become clipped. She writes, "Guy from cafe again?" in one entry. Another simply says, "Window, 2 a.m., not drunk, real." These fragments were not seen by family until weeks later, when digital access was requested post-disappearance. On the second night in Essaouira, Taylor messaged her cousin again, voice note, 40 seconds, calm but wary. "I think someone's staying near the hostel just to watch. He doesn't come in, just waits, maybe nothing." Then comes the last upload. September 23rd, 11:42 p.m. local time. Taylor sends a WhatsApp video to her cousin, one she doesn't post anywhere else. Her face is in the lower corner, whispering. Behind her, the curtain twitches. In the reflection of the hostel window, a tall figure crosses past, a blur of motion, not close but visible. Taylor's voice breaks for a second. She leans toward the camera, says, "If anything," and the screen glitches, skips. The audio snaps, the video ends, 12 seconds. That's all anyone has. The hostel confirmed she didn't check out. No sign-in for breakfast. The front desk assumed she had left early, maybe to catch a bus, but her bed was untouched, her backpack gone. There was no note, no message, just that video. A shadow, a voice, a sense of being watched, and a route that should have ended with her boarding a northbound bus to Rabat. Instead, the trail halts at the window. It was Taylor's father who first realized something was wrong. Sunday was their usual check-in. A short video call, sometimes just a few minutes, but never skipped. When it didn't come on September 24th, he assumed there was a signal issue. Essaouira was coastal. Maybe the Wi-Fi was spotty. He waited. By Monday, still no message. He tried her Moroccan number, straight to voicemail. He checked her travel tracker. The location pin hadn't moved in nearly 48 hours. He emailed her hostel, no reply. He tried again with Google Translate in French. Finally, late Monday night, a staff member responded. They hadn't seen her since Friday night. She hadn't returned her room key. Her bed was still made. Her checkout date had passed. That's when the family group chat exploded. Calls to the U.S. Embassy in Rabat. Messages to the State Department. No one answered on the first try. It was the middle of the night in Morocco. But by Tuesday morning, panic had hardened into action. Taylor's mother filed a missing persons report with local police in Denton County. Her cousin forwarded the WhatsApp video to the embassy's emergency line. Her best friend posted a screenshot of her last Instagram story, a view of Essaouira's fishing port, with the caption, "Has anyone seen her? Please, anything." The post spread fast. Backpackers began to DM. A traveler from Argentina said he saw her in a cafe near Bab Dukala. A surfer from Sweden remembered her on the beach with a notebook, but none of these sightings were after Friday. No one had seen her after the night of the video. Meanwhile, her devices had gone completely dark. Her Moroccan SIM stopped pinging towers after 12:01 a.m. Her phone never reconnected to any known network. Her Google activity ceased. No logins, no map routes, not even idle background location drift. The WhatsApp video showed metadata recorded on September 23rd at 11:42 p.m., sent immediately, but with 4 seconds of corrupted playback at the end. Analysts would later examine the file. There was no sign of external tampering, just a sudden drop in bitrate. A loss of connection, most likely. Maybe a network hiccup, but maybe something else. Moroccan police were slow to act. There was no formal report filed locally until 5 days later. By then, the hostel had already cleared her room. Cleaners had tossed any remaining items, a water bottle, a paperback novel, and a local SIM package, into a communal bin. No security cameras, no hostel checkout forms, no luggage left behind. The only trace was her name in the logbook. Check-in, September 21st, no checkout recorded. What concerned her parents most wasn't the vanishing, it was the absence of anything. No dropped item, no trail, no message left unsent. Taylor wasn't impulsive. She didn't go off grid. She scheduled her solitude. Every silence was planned, except this one. By Thursday, Taylor's father had flown to Morocco. He landed in Casablanca and took a bus to Essaouira, carrying a folder of documents and a list of every place she might have gone. Hostels, cafes, pharmacies, clinics, nothing. Locals were kind but vague. A few recognized her photo. No one remembered her leaving. And then, on Friday afternoon, a call came in from a woman who ran a stall in a second-hand market outside Safi, nearly 90 miles north. She recognized the backpack, not the name, but the distinctive patches sewn on the side. A cactus, a crescent moon, and a Texas flag. She had bought it cheap from a man in his 30s who claimed it was left by a foreigner. No ID inside, no wallet, just clothing, a charger cord, and a notebook with half the pages torn out. Taylor's father drove there that same evening. He identified the backpack immediately. He showed the woman the WhatsApp video. She refused to watch it. The girl had fear, she said. I do not want to see. The man who sold the bag was gone. No name, no record. This should have triggered a search. It didn't. Moroccan police took a statement, promised to follow up. No arrests, no forensic sweep. The backpack was returned, but the notebook pages were never recovered. By the time the U.S. Embassy formally responded, it had been 12 days since Taylor's last message. Too much had already been lost. Her father remained in Essaouira for 3 weeks. He retraced her steps daily. He walked the alleys near the hostel, sat in the cafes, talked to vendors. He even stood in front of her window at night, trying to match the angle from the video. You can see the street perfectly from here, he later said. If someone was out there, she wasn't imagining it. But no one else ever saw the figure. The digital trail ended, the real trail scattered, and the search had only just begun. The first official search effort wasn't local. It came from Taylor's family, armed with digital backups and determination. Her father had printed out Google Maps screenshots from her cloud drive, color-coded with hostel locations, bus terminals, known Wi-Fi cafes, even rooftop lounges with public access. He walked to each one, asking for security footage or receipts. Most didn't have cameras. The few that did had already looped over the weekend footage. The hostel, where Taylor had recorded the WhatsApp video, had no surveillance. Staff said their hallway cam had broken months ago. When asked about guests from that weekend, they recalled a few foreign travelers, a couple from Spain, a group of German students. No one who had raised concern. They didn't remember anyone loitering outside, but no one had really looked. It was just another weekend. People came and went. Frustrated by the lack of formal movement, Taylor's parents hired a local fixer, a man named Idris, who had worked with journalists before. Idris began quietly asking questions. Who had been near the hostel that weekend? Were there reports of harassment? Any street vendors or shopkeepers who had noticed unusual activity? He uncovered one detail that stood out. A small cafe just down the block, one Taylor had frequented, had a part-time night cleaner who remembered seeing a tall man across the street late at night. He didn't move. He just stood there, the cleaner said. 2 nights in a row. Always watching. No clear face, no interaction, just stillness. Idris asked for a description. Tall, thin, maybe local, maybe not. No one else had noticed him. No police reports were filed. No shopkeepers remembered anything strange. But the image stuck. A man standing beneath the yellow street lamp, staring up toward the hostel window. Meanwhile, digital volunteers back in the US had begun scouring Taylor's online footprint. Reddit forums dedicated to digital sleuthing picked apart her final video. Some noticed a distortion in the last frame, what looked like motion blur outside the window, possibly a hand or arm. Others focused on the audio, a subtle pop, possibly from outside the room, milliseconds before the video cut out. One user, a former audio technician, isolated the final second. They claimed to hear something just under the whisper, a knock, not loud, just 3 soft taps. Another user traced the video's EXIF data. It showed a clean timestamp, geotagged coordinates near the Bab Marrakesh gate. But oddly, the altitude reading was off. It registered her at ground level, even though her room was on the 2nd floor. Some theorized her phone's barometer had glitched. Others suggested the video might have been auto-uploaded from another device, not directly from her phone. And then came the GPS discrepancy. A team of volunteer coders used Google Timeline archives to recompile Taylor's travel history. Every other location checked out, until Essaouira. On September 23rd, her phone briefly pinged a location 5 blocks west of her hostel, near an abandoned riad. Only for 2 minutes. Then it returned to the hostel and remained static. The timestamp on that anomaly, 11:39 p.m. The video was sent at 11:42. What happened in those 3 minutes? No one could explain it. Her phone had no app activity during that time. No photos, no messages. But GPS doesn't lie. Something, or someone, had moved her phone just before the video. Whether she went with it or it was taken without her remains unknown. The second major breakthrough came unexpectedly. 12 days into the search, a used electronics vendor in Safi contacted Idris. He had been offered a Moroccan SIM card by a man trying to sell foreign phones. The card didn't work. It had been deactivated, but the man left in a hurry when the vendor asked for ID. Idris recovered the SIM. Serial matched Taylor's purchase in Marrakesh. It had been removed from the phone. The man's description? Again, tall, thin, maybe in his 30s. Local accent, no name. The phone was never recovered. By now, Moroccan authorities had begun paying attention under diplomatic pressure. A police liaison was assigned, but progress was slow. Official statements claimed there was no evidence of foul play. Without a body or confirmed crime, there was little they could pursue. Taylor's father pushed harder. He met with embassy staff. He filed requests for CCTV access at bus terminals, though most footage had already expired. He requested drone scans of nearby cliffs, but was denied. Privately, he funded 2 drone passes, scanning the Medina rooftops, alleyways, and coastal dunes. Nothing. No heat signatures, no signs of discarded clothing, no trace. Back home, friends organized digital campaigns, #FindTaylorJames. They started a website, compiled maps, timelines, theories. One volunteer mapped all known disappearances of solo female travelers in Morocco over the past 5 years. There were no clear patterns, but 2 cases, one in Tangier, one in Ouarzazate, had similarly vanished after reporting a watcher. No links were ever confirmed. 3 weeks after the disappearance, Moroccan police questioned vendors in Safi again. One stallholder admitted that the man who sold the backpack had been seen with 2 phones, one he never displayed, always tucked in his coat. That lead went nowhere, no arrest, no name. The search became a loop, the same questions, the same silences. But still, one image lingered. Taylor's father, returning to that same window outside the hostel night after night, watching the street, waiting for the shadow to return. He once said, "There's a silence in that alley that feels unnatural, like something's holding its breath." And in that breathless space, the investigation stalled, leaving only fragments waiting to be reassembled. 2 months after Taylor's disappearance, with no arrests and no confirmed sightings, speculation hardened into theories. What happened in those final hours? Who or what was outside that window? The most widely accepted theory among investigators and digital volunteers is that Taylor was abducted, not randomly, but by someone who had been watching her for days. Essaouira's Medina is dense, a maze of stone alleyways and crumbling buildings. Tourists are common, but solo female travelers stand out. Taylor's private blog posts showed she'd noticed someone watching her, possibly the same person captured as a blur in the final video. The part-time cafe worker's testimony about the man across the street supports this. He stood in the same place for 2 consecutive nights. He never approached, never spoke, just waited. If this figure was monitoring her, it's possible he learned her routines, what time she left, where she sat, which window was hers. He may have waited for the right moment, when hostel staff were distracted, when the street outside was quiet, when the Wi-Fi signal was weak enough to disrupt video transmission. The glitch in the WhatsApp file, a compression failure, a lost frame, lines up precisely with her phone's final GPS ping 5 blocks away. Experts believe the phone could have been forcibly taken from her, or Taylor herself was moved and managed to send the video just before being cut off. Then there's the backpack. Recovered in a market near Safi, 140 kilometers north, with personal items stripped. Whoever had it wanted it emptied of identifiers, but not thrown away. Was this an amateur criminal or someone familiar with how to make a person disappear? Some point to the missing notebook pages as significant. Taylor was meticulous. Every travel detail went into those pages. Expenses, names, sketches of routes. The fact that only the personal entries were torn out raises suspicion. Did she write something she wasn't supposed to? A name? A pattern? A license plate? There is also the vendor who recognized the man with 2 phones. He left in a hurry. No ID, no contact. If that second phone was hers, why keep it hidden? Supporters of this theory believe the man in the window wasn't a random stranger, but someone who had been tracking her movements. Someone who knew she had no plans past Sunday, who understood when she'd be alone, who took her and everything important before anyone had time to react. Less popular but still discussed is the possibility that Taylor left intentionally, either out of fear or for reasons unknown. Her father dismisses this theory outright. She wouldn't vanish, he said, not without warning, not without a plan. But digital investigators noticed something unusual in her final week. Her posts slowed, her writing shifted, captions became abstract. A blog post titled "Maps Break 2" included a quote, "Sometimes disappearances, the last form of communication." One Redditor uncovered a VPN login from Taylor's account days before she arrived in Essaouira. It connected briefly through a server in Germany, a country she hadn't visited. Could she have been hiding something, planning a route that bypassed normal tracking? Others cite the message to her cousin. "There's a guy who's been outside, might be nothing." They wonder, was she frightened enough to leave? Could she have discarded her SIM, sold her gear, and fled north toward Europe by boat or ferry? Unlikely, say her family. She had no reason to run, no debts, no danger, no secrets. Her accounts were untouched. Her passport was never scanned at any border after that night. there's also the problem of the backpack. If she left on her own, why would she abandon the one item she always kept close? And if she needed to disappear, why leave a breadcrumb trail? Most experts reject the idea of a voluntary disappearance. Taylor was aware, said a private investigator, but she wasn't unstable. Everything about her last days suggests rising anxiety, not a plan to run, and no trace of exit suggests the opposite, that her freedom was taken, not given up. Still, the theory persists in certain corners of the internet. A few claim to have seen her in Spain, in Marseille, even in Istanbul. None of these sightings have been confirmed. Photos sent to her father were inconclusive. Facial recognition software returned low probability matches. What unites all these theories is a single truth: something changed that night. Whether she was taken or chose to flee something we don't yet understand, the facts remain frozen at 11:42 p.m. One whisper, one shadow, one moment of fear that collapsed everything after, and still the question lingers: who was outside the window? The first real development came nearly 5 months after Taylor disappeared. In late February 2024, a German travel vlogger named Lena Kohler posted a drone video of Essaouira's coastal ruins, footage taken during her winter trip but only edited and uploaded weeks later. The video was standard at first. Sweeping shots of seawalls, crashing waves, goats climbing argan trees. But at the 7:41 mark, the drone banked inland, briefly passing over the remnants of an old riad, a crumbling structure west of the Medina, partially collapsed, hidden behind a rusted metal fence. It was only visible for 4 seconds, but in that span, the drone's high-resolution lens captured something that shouldn't have been there. A strip of fabric, pale green, tangled on the edge of a jagged wall, fluttering in the wind. A viewer in Texas, a follower of Taylor's missing person page, recognized it immediately. It matched a scarf Taylor had worn in her final photos. Lightweight, cotton, embroidered along the edge with a distinct wave pattern. Her mother had bought it for her in Austin before the trip. They reported the find. Lena sent the original 4K file. Drone GPS placed the shot at coordinates 31.5071, 9.7684. Idris, still working independently in Morocco, was on site 3 days later. The building had no roof. Its interior was gutted, filled with broken tiles and trash. But he found the scarf, caught between stones, sun-bleached but intact. Near it, under a piece of cracked mosaic, was something else. A metal SIM card tool, the kind that comes with new phones. It was rusted from exposure, weather-worn but unmistakable. Police returned to the site with a small team. They conducted a sweep, bringing dogs and a drone of their own. No additional clothing, no phone, no blood, just fragments. Scrap of rubber that could have been a phone case lining, a scorched corner of paper, and half a bracelet clasp. None could be definitively tied to Taylor, except the scarf. Her father flew back to Morocco. He stood in the ruins himself. Later, he described it as a place you pass by without looking. He said it felt abandoned long before it was ever physically empty. Why would her scarf be there? The site was 5 blocks west of her hostel, aligning almost perfectly with the strange GPS ping recorded at 11:39 p.m. on the night of the video. Experts now believe the signal wasn't a glitch. It was real. For those 2 minutes, her phone had moved, or been moved, to that very location. What no one can explain is how she would have gotten there. The alley is narrow, disused. Locals avoid it at night. There are no cameras nearby, no shops, just one rusted gate, often chained. And then there's the question of timing. If the phone was taken there before the video, who was recording the message? Was she brought back to the hostel to send it? Was she already under duress, whispering because someone was in the room with her? Or was the video pre-recorded, uploaded automatically once the device reconnected to Wi-Fi? Digital forensics suggest it was sent in real time, but the phone was never found. The discovery shifted the case's trajectory, but not in the way anyone hoped. Moroccan authorities reopened the investigation briefly, but found no new leads. They closed the file again in April, citing lack of evidence of foul play. The scarf and SIM tool were returned to Taylor's family. For her parents, the recovery brought no relief. It proved she was taken somewhere, her mother said. It proved she tried to fight or mark where she'd been. And no one found it for 5 months. Online communities reignited. New maps were drawn. A few digital sleuths believe the location was used as a handoff point, a place where Taylor was temporarily held before being moved. But without eyewitnesses or surveillance, it remains conjecture. The only other discovery came weeks later. A French couple hiking along a coastal trail near Sidi Kouki, 25 kilometers south of Essaouira, found a black beaded bracelet half buried in the sand. It matched one worn by Taylor in a Marrakesh photo, but couldn't be confirmed. The area was combed, no other items found, no tracks, no camp, no shelter, just wind, sand, and silence. Whatever happened to Taylor James, it left behind only fragments. Nothing whole, nothing conclusive. Each clue sharpens the outline of her disappearance, but the picture remains incomplete. And somewhere between the ruined wall and the broken upload, the story twists, away from explanation and deeper into uncertainty. As of December 2025, Taylor James is still classified as a missing person. No formal charges have been filed, no suspects have been named, and no remains have ever been recovered. Her case remains technically open in Morocco, but inactive. The Essaouira Police Department confirmed that the file was archived pending new information. There is no dedicated investigator. When her father contacts the embassy now, the responses are polite but hollow, acknowledgments without momentum. In the United States, Taylor's name is listed in Interpol's Yellow Notice system, but no sightings have been verified since September 2023. She is also on the FBI's Missing Persons database, though her disappearance abroad limits their jurisdiction. A federal investigator met with the family in early 2024, but described the situation as extremely difficult to pursue without physical evidence or local cooperation. Despite this, her parents haven't stopped. They've established the Taylor James Foundation, focused on safety training for solo travelers. The foundation hosts webinars, offers downloadable travel templates, and funds emergency SIM cards for American students studying abroad. It also pressures U.S. legislators to expand diplomatic response protocols for missing Americans overseas. Her father has returned to Morocco 3 times. Each visit includes long walks through Essaouira's Medina and out to the site of the ruined Riyadh. "I don't know what I expect to find," he says, "but I can't stop looking, not while there's still silence where her voice should be." Online, Taylor's case is kept alive by a small but dedicated group of digital volunteers. Reddit threads are still active. New theories emerge monthly. A Discord server cross-references street footage from vlogs taken in Essaouira during the week she vanished, looking for anyone matching the description of the man outside the window. So far, no matches. In July 2025, a Texas congresswoman introduced legislation known as the James Act, a proposal to streamline cross-border coordination in missing persons cases involving U.S. citizens. The bill is still in committee. The scarf remains the last physical clue. Taylor's mother keeps it in a sealed shadow box on the mantel, beside a photo of her daughter laughing on a beach in Tagazot. Sometimes she places fresh flowers beside it, like a memorial, but insists it's not one. "I don't believe she's gone," she says, "but I know something happened, and someone knows what." For now, the questions persist, and without new evidence, the answers remain just out of reach, like the shadow in her final video, always there, just beyond focus. This is what we're left with: a voice barely above a whisper, a shadow moving past a hostile window, A video sent in the final moments before everything changed. No witnesses, no clear suspect, no goodbye, just fragments. A scarf found in the ruins of a crumbling building. A GPS blip 3 minutes before midnight. A missing notebook. A backpack stripped of identity. A family caught in the gravity of an absence that keeps widening, not just from loss, but from not knowing. Taylor James didn't vanish into thin air. She was somewhere, on a street, in a room, moving through space, time, and systems that failed to register her disappearance until it was too late. There were signs. She saw them. She said so. She tried to warn someone, and we saw the moment she did. The fear in her eyes, the breath caught in her throat, the shadow crossing into frame. And then, nothing. It's not just the mystery that haunts this story. It's the precision of it. The way it all seems to pause at the edge of understanding, as if someone, somewhere made sure we could almost see, but not quite. Left enough to follow, but not enough to arrive. Her parents still sleep with their phones on, in case a message comes through. Her best friend hasn't changed Taylor's contact photo. Her cousin keeps the video file on a secure drive, opening it sometimes just to watch the last moment, hoping for something new to reveal itself. A flicker, a reflection, anything. But the frame remains the same. 12 seconds, one voice, one shadow. So ask yourself, if someone you loved sent a final message from a locked room, a message where the fear was real and the threat was just outside, what would you do when the world moved on, but the evidence stayed behind? Would you trust the silence? Or would you keep watching the window, waiting for the shadow to return?